Charlie Pryor. I cannot tell you how excited I was to tackle this collage. This is my grandfather. And what's interesting about this was creating a concept behind the idea of feeling a connection and a love for someone that you never knew. And why I say that is because my grandfather unfortunately passed away before any of his grandchildren came on the scene. And I would only hear about him through stories from my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncles. And it would just be sort of like this, like getting an idea of the man he was and his influence. Just to give you a little bit of context about my grandfather, um, aside from just being an overall just get things done type of person. He was an industrious person. He was an entrepreneur. Um, for years, he owned Pryor's Auto Wash, which coincidentally, in the last, I think, couple of years, my cousin Talani unearthed these articles that were in the Michigan Chronicle um, that were dedicated to him and his business too as well. And one of the things that was really interesting about that I heard about the business was his tagline, where he said that we don't just wash cars, we baptize them. And I just thought that was just really interesting. But I've heard so many stories about my grandfather and his influence, everything from being a man of the community, a philanthropist, even to where he would donate to different causes around the city, to organizations. In fact, one story that I have heard is his involvement with team sports, community sports. And one year I'd have to confirm this with other family members, but one year he had donated new baseball gloves to a local baseball team. And one of the players who was on that team was future Tigers Hall of Famer Willie Horton, who was a part of the 1968 championship team. Legend. Um, and it's just one of those stories that, of many that I've heard about my grandfather that just has has created this just connection with him. And I found myself where over the years I would try to find different things, new photos or anything that would connect me further to my grandfather. And a few years ago, my aunt Vivian gave me a call, and she was like, I have these slides of old family slides that I would want you to digitize. And, I know there are a lot of photos of your family and your grandmother and your grandfather. And I was immediately hooked. I'm like, yes, I have to do this. So I went through the photos, and it was like it was a treasure chest. And there were so many images that I found, everything from this image of all of my, what you call it, my mother and my aunts and uncles and cousins when they were kids out on Belle Isle. And then I also saw this image it was three people in the image. It was my great grandma Lulu, my cousin Sherry, and my grandfather. And my grandfather was just looking dapper. He had on his was this black button up, the stingy brim, the khaki slacks, and he was holding a radio. But I saw another image, and this was the one that I used as a reference for this piece of him in his backyard. Same deal, just fly hat, button up, casual, but still, what you call it, a sense of style. And he was holding this bottle. Now, I took a little bit of liberty with the bottle that was in hand, and I switched it to what I've heard over the years was his favorite drink, which was a Mountain Dew. And I just wanted to create something that immortalized what I saw at that moment. And again, the name Charlie Pryor. what he, the name that he was known by, but by most of his closest people. So this really was a personal tribute to him, um, giving him his flowers, and again, paying homage to a man that, even though I never knew personally, I feel so close to just because of the stories that I've heard of him. And I'm very proud that the name Charles, my middle name, that I got from him.